Ed and
Well, Ed is frequently late.
okay.
But Rocio is usually early.
Right.
True. Hi, everybody. We're just kind of letting people filter in here. But welcome. This is the Community Board 2 Quality of Life Committee June meeting. We'll get started in just a moment. Thank you all for joining.
And Carter has joined us. But Carter doesn't, does Carter count toward the quorum?
No,
No.
The rule is always only that
No.
board members assigned to a committee count towards quorum.
just make sure we don't have any of our committee members and participants.
Yeah, I'm checking the list now.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's your preference to also elevate other board members or just let them be attendees.
we can do that, but I don't see any other board members on right now. Oh,
Besides
Donna,
Carter
we can
and
elevate Donna. Yeah, Carter's already elevated.
Yeah, the rest are not. Oh, Emma Smith is one of our new people.
She declined to be promoted.
Okay.
Why don't we just start with intros and get things going? Mark, maybe you can send a text message or something to Rocio and Ed. That would be helpful if we could do that. But we, it's 6:36, so we should really get going. So this is as I mentioned, the June Quality of Life Committee meeting for Community Board 2 Manhattan. This committee reviews street activities as well as touches on topics including environment and sanitation. Tonight we have on our agenda 8 different street activity applications. You can find links to these applications on the CB2 website. I'm not sure we heard back from everybody, so some of them may not appear tonight, but we'll go through those applications in the order that we have them on our agenda. The way the meetings usually work is we will hear from the applicants. I'm going to put my email in the chat if any of the applicants want to go ahead and email me any diagrams or any other items that they think would be useful when they give their presentations, but we'll go through each agenda item. We'll hear a brief presentation from the applicants. We will then open it up to questions and comments from the Quality of Life Committee, as well as following that, other CB2 members, and then we will open it up for public comment. So everyone will have the opportunity to comment on any application as they wish. Let me do a quick introduction here of who we have on. We're still trying to get one more person on from the committee for a quorum. So we have myself, I'm the chair of the Quality of Life Committee. We have Susan Kent, who is a QOL member and CB2 board chair. We have Brian Pape, who's a Quality of Life Committee member. Michael Levine, who's a Quality of Life Committee member. And then we have public member Joanna Lawton. Thank you for joining. And then we have 2 other community board members who have been promoted to panelists, Carter Booth and Donna Raftery. So Mark, let me just ask you from a governance perspective, what can we do right now?
To the extent that you, so if you don't have a quorum, you can't actually take committee action. However, you can call up as at full board any resolution that is not the official action of a committee, and then it would be as if it were new business or from the floor.
Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but we can present them as recommendations from this committee and then ask, is it the executive committee or the full board to adopt them as resolutions?
Well, you can always introduce them as at executive and have them become a committee action of executive, but you're correct, you don't have to. And it's entirely up to the discretion of the chair where in a meeting they would be introduced. So there's no reason why they wouldn't be introduced along with the other resolutions of the committee.
So, yeah, so I'm sorry, let me just, so the thought would be, any decisions we make tonight, we would want to then introduce to the full board as recommendations of this committee.
This happens from time to time when a committee falls a little short.
Right.
It's not, you know, so any resolutions, as Mark said, are not the official recommendation of the committee, but they still have a validity. They still can be presented as new business. And then the process, once it gets to the board for its review, is exactly the same.
Good. And I see Valerie.
The thing is, I think we're gonna have a quorum soon, but we have over 30 people on this meeting, and so we can't just sit around forever.
Of course not. If you have ones that you particularly want, why don't you take something else? You could take it out of order
Yeah.
and do something of that nature. And then if there's something that you're waiting for people, then it'll give them a little more time.
Okay. Well, first of all, can we see if can I ask, and please raise your hand if you're an attendee and this is your event. But can I ask if anyone is here from the Boot Drop event, sponsor Game 7 Marketing? Jane Carey's raising her hand, but I don't think that's your event.
Only if you're an applicant, raise your hand.
Yeah.
Not if you're here to speak about it.
So is anyone here from the Boot Drop? I don't think we heard back from that. Jane Carey, I think, okay, do you want to, I'll promote you, but I don't think this is, I think you're here for a different event.
Museum, right?
But I promoted Jane Carey. Jane, you're here for the Whitney event, right? Not the Boot Drop.
You're correct. Yes, I thought you asked for all applicants.
No, sorry.
Okay,
We're gonna call. Yeah. So okay, we didn't hear back from them, so I think that's a no-show. And then let me ask if anyone is here from the Chanel Artist Award event. That was, I think, the other one that we did not hear back on. This is sponsored by the Tribeca Festival. Is there a Neelam here? No. Okay. So that's a no-show. So I think we are going to jump a little out of order here because I would like to have a quorum for the Mulberry event. So I think the next one we had was the Whitney event. Is that right? Let me see. So Jane, why don't you go ahead?
All right, thank you, William. And I did
Thanks for joining.
email you a street layout just a moment ago. So yeah.
I will share that. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you everybody for hearing from us. The meatpacking bid has submitted a street closure permit on the Whitney's behalf for our Pride celebrations. I saw the date listed in the calendar. Is that the 16th or 17th? Those dates are incorrect. And I've been in touch with Evan to ask that they be updated. He said that it was something relating to the bids application for the Leaf Flower of Festivals that was supposed to happen this weekend and is unfortunately not moving forward. The Whitney on Friday, June 9th is going to host our Queer Teen Night. This is similar to the event that we held last year outside on the street on the Friday the second Friday in June. It's a dedicated evening for LGBTQ plus youth and allies to join with our museum's Youth Insights leaders, as are our team leaders, to collaborate with folks from the Door, the Center, and House of Us for an evening of art making, performances, dancing, giveaways, and museum exploration. It's been a while since I've been to one of these committees, so I think in the past I've talked through the street plan, but I can continue to give a broad strokes overview of what we're planning for that evening, if that would be helpful. Okay, where we've asked the bid if they can request that the street closure begin at 9 a.m. so we can start with setup from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The teen night runs from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. We're going to have activity inside the museum and outside on the street. There will be some community education partners tabling, offering information for our teen audiences. And from 6 to 7 o'clock, there will be a performance by House of Us on the street, where we look to set up a small stage. These are risers that we keep inside our theater. Here you can see that yellow T is one of our, the stage. I think that stage is about 12 inches tall. There's nothing 10 feet or above vertical with that. At the back of the stage, I believe replacing the DJ. We'll work with the 6. I've been in touch with Detective Officer Ken there about a sound permit. And that's pretty much it. After the event ends around 7 o'clock, our facilities team will start breaking down the street, and we hope to reopen the street to traffic at by 9 o'clock. For this and the other event that I'm about to speak through, we've done outreach to 95 Horatio Street. That's the residential building across the street from the museum. The meat market, John Jabagi Co-op there, the High Line, and the bid obviously is in the loop as well. Some elements of this street plan are likely to shift a little bit. What is that? It's just the placement of the welcome tables. I think we had a pretty robust response from some of the community partners we invited to table at this event, so we'll need some more space for them. All right. Any questions on this, or should I go ahead to talk through Saturday, June 10th event?
I think Michael has a question.
Yeah, can you just repeat for us, what is the exact extent of the street that will be, it's a full closure. What is the extent of the street that we're talking about?
We're looking to close Gansevoort from Washington Street to 10th Avenue. But the activity will be happening right in front of the Whitney's part of the street, which is the majority of the block.
So it's the full street, right? From one,
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And we've also been in touch with Simo Pizza across the street too.
Okay, thank you. And I'll note that, by the way, Rocio is on, so I think we do have a quorum now. And Jane, can you just repeat what the time period is when you're going to be having amplified sound?
Yes, so the event will run from 4 p.m. to 7 o'clock. During that time, we'll have background music. From 6 to 7 o'clock will be the performance out on the street. I think it's just the DJ will be playing some songs for the performers will dance to.
Okay, and you mentioned you're going to have certain organizations out there tabling, like community organizations?
Yes, we are. I don't have the full list of what those organizations are. I know our education team reached out to their normal community partners. We have long-term relationships with a number of organizations in the neighborhood and across the city that we partner with.
Great. Okay. Excellent. And is there any food or beverage being served?
No, not that I know of. It's possible. Sometimes they offer hospitality for teens, like sodas, waters, snacks in our theater, but I don't know of any food that's going to be served on the street.
Okay, great. I think we can move on to the second one, and then we can just have, after that, we can open it up to the public to comment on both events. So let me share the screen again. The second day.
Thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Saturday, June 10th is what we're calling Whitney Community Pride Day. Last year, we had a larger event out on the street on the Saturday of the flower show where we rolled out sod and we created, we had a larger activation on the street. Well, with the cancellation of the flower show in the meatpacking district, we've had to pivot a little bit. But we still want to offer a free inclusive party to celebrate Pride at the museum. So this day is geared towards LGBTQ plus families and community members and allies of all ages. And it's will include, again, hands-on art making, a collaborative coloring project inspired by the artist Chichur Ganesh, who made a queer power coloring book. We were making the pictures of her coloring book larger and putting them on these little A-frames out on the street and inviting participants to color and add to them. We will offer queer history walking tours throughout the day of the meatpacking district. We'll be giving some giveaways. We'll have a photo booth and a frame making activity for participants to decorate a frame and put their picture from the photo booth in it. We found these little bubble machines that we're going to put on the street to create a fun, vibrant atmosphere. This map here suggests we'll have 3 food trucks. We were hoping to have more than one, but we will have 1 food truck on the block that day. We have the food truck's license number. We're going to get that to the bid to send over to SAFO. It's a Mr. Softy truck. I've asked to be sure that we will not play the Mr. Softy music all day long or I'll go nuts. We'll have a same thing as on the Friday event. There'll be background music. And at 3 o'clock, we just confirmed we'll have a dance workshop led by performers that will lead a public dance workshop in the street. This map in the other doesn't include the CMO dining shed. We thought that it was coming down by this weekend. We've heard that probably isn't going to happen. So we will be sure to include a clear 15-foot fire lane throughout the length of the block for both days. Again, like on Friday, I think the actual site plan might be tweaked a little bit and just clumping some of these green boxes are picnic tables. It's obviously not to scale, they're not that big. I just got, so we'll move them together, and the bid is donating us some of their street furniture to use for the event, which will scatter throughout the block. We'll like on Friday, we will have some community partners that are tabling and offering resources. It's a variety of organizations that will be out that day. And all of the events run from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. We've asked that the street closures start at 6 a.m. to allow for our facilities team to set out all the material and the street furniture that we need. And starting at 6:30, they will begin to break down the street. And we hope the street can reopen by 9 o'clock or 9:30.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, so on Friday, it's 4 to 7, and on Saturday, it's 11 to 6, just to make sure I have the times right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And you think you'll be fully loaded out on Saturday by when?
Our team said 8:30, but I asked for
Okay.
9:30 just in case we need
Okay.
a little bit of a buffer.
Okay. And is this an iteration of an event that you've already done in the past?
Yes, last year we had I don't remember what we titled it, a Pride celebration, the second Saturday of June,
Okay.
which had was a little bit of a larger presence on the block. I mentioned that we laid down sod and we had
Okay.
a bigger presence. But yes, this is year 2.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Great. Let me stop sharing here. Okay, does anybody on the committee have any question or comment on this one? Yes, Michael.
I have one sideways question. You said that they would be, I know this doesn't impact the grant of the permit. You said they would be walking tours of the meatpacking district. Can you just give us a hint? What will the extent of those walking tours be? Are they just that block, or are they going further?
Yeah, the walking tours go throughout the meatpacking. It's not too far. I think they go around on Washington Street and Little West 12th. It's been a while since I've been on one myself. This is a program our education team has been leading for a number of years now. and find the community really responds to them. They are interesting. There's a deep and rich history here in the neighborhood. And I think if they're of interest to any members of this committee or the public, we will soon be adding something to our website where you can take the tour yourself too. But all of these events are free.
Is that part of the permit request?
No.
Oh, okay. I was just curious to know what it was. It sounds like an excellent tour. I had frequented some of those places in the past.
Yeah, well, we
Thank
offer
you.
them. We're offering a number in the month of June, and then we'll offer them throughout the summer too. I just dropped a link in the chat to all of our Pride programs. So yeah, more information on the 2 events that I've just talked through and also the walking tours.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Anybody from the board who wants to have a question or comment? Okay, anybody from the public who has a question or comment on this particular event? Please raise your hand. I don't see anybody raising their hand. Okay. Thank you.
Sure, I
Jane?
just see, sorry, there's a question in the chat about special
Oh.
access. I think these events are open to the public. We do have one member event happening later this month on the 28th that's limited to members. And I'm sure inside somebody would be happy to sell memberships. All right. Thanks for letting me give you the full rundown. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Jane. Much appreciated. Okay, we're gonna move on to the Mulberry event. Please, I see 2 people under Adam. I think this is you. Anybody else here for that event to present, please raise your hand, and then we will open it up to comments later after they present. So let's give a second here.
Bill, would you like me to present all, to promote all of them, or just the one?
Hi, is that Adam?
Yeah, it's Adam. My client Min Soo is going to be presenting from group therapy.
Okay. I don't see a Min Sue, but there's a few other people that there's another Adam Weingrad, maybe that is Min. Yes.
I have him in here. Hi, hello everyone.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you so much, community board leaders. Good evening. I'll give you a little rundown, a real quick presentation on our event. My name is Min Soo Kim, and I am the executive producer here at Group Therapy, the production company responsible for organizing and producing the Mulberry event. Joining me today, we have Adam Weingrad, and we also have Chloe Snower and Nicolette Cohen, who are our production and event producers. I also wanted to clarify that we are here to present the activation scheduled for Saturday, June 10th, under the SAPO event ID 704804. But due to an email mishap previously, we were unaware of the last community board meeting, but we're here now to provide you with the details. The Mulberry activation event is a basketball tournament that will foster unity and camaraderie within our community. Basketball hoops and flooring will be installed in the Leon Doré store on Mulberry between Prince and Spring. And our primary objective is to encourage healthy competition, foster connections, and celebrate the talent and passion for basketball in our neighborhood. This event is hosted by Leon Doré, a leading clothing brand deeply rooted in Queens and committed to community involvement. The event is a community-based basketball tournament organized in partnership with New Balance as well. And community leaders and members, including Henry Street Settlement and the Masrick Community Gym After School Program, will actively participate. We also have notable programs involved in the event, including Humble Development Training, Pro Hoop NYC, Exodus AA program, and Ladies Who Hoop, an organization dedicated to promoting women's basketball. The tournament will also be featuring a game between Henry Street and Masrick Gym After School Program kids, and the prize money will be awarded to the winning team. And the court and hoops that we are all getting for the event will also be donated to the Henry Street settlement. Equipment load-in will begin at midnight and allowing ample time for setup. The tournament itself will start at 11 a.m. and will conclude between 7 and 8 p.m. We will also maintain regular street traffic between 11 p.m. and 11:59 p.m. There will be a designated fire lane will be maintained on the south side of Mulberry Street, and residents will have uninterrupted access to their garages as well. We've been in
Can you repeat
communication.
the hours one more time, just so I make sure I get them right on my notes?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will begin setup in a staggered way from midnight, June 10th. And then the event itself, the tournament, starts at 11 a.m. and will conclude at 7 p.m. And we'll begin to load out after 8 p.m.
So you're planning to set it up then throughout the night, is what you're
Yes.
saying?
We have a precise staggered schedule for that, but we have some cleanup happening prior to that, and I can get into a few more details on that precise schedule.
Yeah, I think we generally tell people we don't want to have setups happening in the wee hours of the morning for these types of events. So I don't know if there's a way to mitigate that.
We will,
Sorry.
yeah,
Continue.
we'll absolutely mitigate that, and we'll put a new staggered schedule together so we can start a little bit earlier in the morning. Yes, and we've been also in communication with all of the local businesses on Mulberry Street so that ensure that everyone is aware of the event. We do have a site plan available to provide visual understanding of the event layout and organization as well.
Would you be able to have someone send that to me?
Absolutely.
It would be helpful for me to display it. I can put my email in the chat again. I put it earlier and I'll put it again.
Adam, if you could help me get that sent over, that would be great.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, I think we have our times and what have you, but I leave it open to questions for everybody regarding the event.
Yeah, I'm curious just more about kind of the dimensions of this. So maybe when the
Yeah, absolutely.
maybe when this is sent across, that would be helpful. Can you talk a little bit about amplified sound plans at the event?
Yes, we do. We are planning to have an MC and DJ with an AV system right next to the court that we are installing on the street. And I believe we also have that on our permit application. You know, I think we're guarded on how loud or the decibel or making sure that we're in the sound parameters that we need to be for the event. And it's not that music will be happening throughout the event, but there's actual tournaments. So, you know, the tournament will go very, very quickly. The games are about 15 minutes a piece. It's like a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. So there won't be necessarily music all the way throughout, but
Okay.
we'll guard against whatever the sound limitations are for the street permit.
Okay.
And it is open to the public as well.
Do you have an approximate list of or an estimation for like the number of people that you think are going to be there, like attendees?
For the actual attendees that we are inviting, we have a very small list. I can get that exact number, but we do have like single line to double line bleachers that will also be set up alongside the street, and they hold about 60 people. So everything else is going to be free to moving traffic on the sidewalks.
Okay. Okay, so I have this site plan now up, which is helpful. So, okay, the court's 21.5 feet by 45.6 feet with a 15-foot emergency lane.
Correct. So let me just try.
How does that work? Yeah,
the
because if the
basketball
street's
court-
23 feet and yeah, how
Well,
does
the
that work?
basketball court is flush to the ground. So, the fire lane, the basketball court is part of the fire lane because of a fire truck could drive over the court. The court itself is flush to the street. It's not raised up in any way. It's completely flush to the ground. So it's part of the existing fire lane. Also, it's the east side of the street, which is the fire lane. That's our mistake because the traffic does flow north, from south to north. So the east side of the street is the fire lane side. The west side of the street does have the pop-up tents that you'll see on the second and third page of the site plan. Saw another question in the chat. There is not an event on July 2nd. We had previously asked for a second date, which we are no longer going to be requesting. That's why a second application was put in. So the July 2nd request, that application tomorrow will get withdrawn. It's only going to be a one-day request for this Saturday, the 10th.
Okay. Let me just scroll through this a little bit more here. So this is moving south to north along the street as we go down. Is that right?
Right. So it goes from where our court is, then more to the middle of the street, and then to the northern end of the street.
And where are the bleachers on here?
You'll see there's a 5-foot clear for sidewalk. There's these small gray bars along there, and those are the bleachers.
Okay. So the bleachers are on the sidewalk or straddling the curb, or how wide are the bleachers? Because the bleachers I've seen are usually like, I don't know, 10 feet wide,
Yeah.
8 to 10 feet wide.
Correct, but they are the small single to two row bleachers. They're not the tall bleachers at all. They're the smaller bleachers, and I believe, let me see if I can get that measurement, but I believe it's 2 to 3 feet wide at the most, 3 feet wide.
Yes.
Also,
correct.
I want to speak to somebody in the chat. Every business on the block does know this event is happening. I personally was down on Mulberry today at 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning, putting a community notice under every doorway to every business on that block, all the residential businesses, all the commercial businesses. And I put no parking signs up and passed out community notices to all the businesses today. So they are all now aware of what's taking place on this Saturday. And I'm happy to send anyone who has an email address, if you want to pop it in the chat, I can send you the community notice over to you as well.
Is there a plan? I mean, is there a plan to deal with the possible congregation of crowds? Like, I can imagine a situation where you have these small 1 to 2 row bleachers, but many other people who want to watch crowd around, and then all of a sudden you don't have clear sidewalks. Is there a way you've thought about dealing with that kind of scenario?
I can
Uh,
jump into that too, Minsu.
Yes.
We have security staffed to make sure that there's always a walk lane for passerbyers. And so they will be there from when we start loading in to when we wrap, just to ensure that there are no issues and there's a clear lane.
How many people in terms of security are you hiring?
On the entire street, we'll have during the tournament, we'll have 16 security members.
Okay. But then is there a situation where, people are trying to stand and watch and they're being told that they can't stand there? I mean, that seems like it could create some kind of conflict.
There's an area where they can stand and watch so that the lane is cleared, and then there's areas for them to sit. So they'll be directed to the areas where they can stand, so there's no problems with people getting through the street.
So where on here would that be?
Right in front of, so on the, right in front of where the existing outdoor cafe is, that's going to be an area where people can stand and look on.
Okay.
Or
Um, I saw in the chat, apparently there are some planters there. Is that, are there also planters on the sidewalk that are going to be moved?
the planters will be removed.
Is there, are there going to be any food and beverage being served?
There will be a catering tent, which is for the players and for the staff. We have a tent that will have like all, we're gonna have a security guard in front. And then it has like 3 walls. So it'll only be dedicated to the players and to the staff.
Let me just scroll down a bit more on here. Take a look at that. Okay.
Yeah, right where it's at the crew pop-up tent next to the,
And you're having portable bathrooms, like porta potties, okay.
yeah, though they will be a bathroom trailer.
Okay, and then you're looking for the curb lane for crew parking. Okay. All right, we may pull this back up, but let me pause the share for now. I'd like to give some other, I've been doing a lot of talking. I'd like to give some other people a chance to ask some questions. Who else from the board would like to ask some questions? I know there's people from the public that want to speak as well, but anyone else on the committee or the board? Yes, Brian.
Well, I noticed that on some of the maps, you had all of the businesses on the west side of the street, but I didn't see any of the businesses on the east side of the street. I wonder if that could be added to those plans.
Yeah, we can definitely add that. We had in the past 2 weeks spoken to the businesses on that side, just giving them the heads up about everything that we were doing, which is why they're marked up, because we wanted to give everybody notice that we were going to be putting things in front of their store and activating on that day.
Okay, so
I was
the,
actually there last week talking to several of the business owners and managers.
so the basketball court, it's as you said before, the drawing or diagram is not to scale. So the 21 feet wide and 45 or so foot long. So the court will start at near the corner and go to near where the existing outdoor cafe shed is now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
These shed is.
And just to understand the competitors or the players, are these full teams competing against each other? Or are these some skill games like shooting hoops?
It's going to be 3-on-3 games. There's one game of like 13-year-olds that are playing. So it's just going to be 3-on-3.
They are
Okay.
abbreviated games.
And what was that last comment?
They're abbreviated games, so they'll have a shorter run time on with just 3-on-3 players.
Okay, and I heard you say that someone say that they're going to remove all those planters. There's quite a few along those sidewalks. And in fact, I noticed that in front of one of the stores, they were actually in the street. And I'm just wondering how are you going to move such heavy planters? It's quite a big task.
The main planters that we have, in closer to the spring side of the street is in front of a May shop, and we have arranged it so that the planters will be removed. We have a team.
Okay, so you're saying that further on down the street, those planter boxes that are on the sidewalk or in the street are going to stay there?
That is correct. Just right in front of where the basketball court will be, closer to the spring side where the basketball court is, those planters will be cleared.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Let me stop the share again. Yes, Carter, go ahead.
Yeah, so first, can we just walk through the measurements here from, west to east? Sidewalk measurement, street measurement, the other sidewalk measurement, the bleacher measurements, the court measurements, to understand how the space is being used?
Yes, I can answer this. So we have the basketball court is being custom sized. It's 21.5 feet wide, and the street width is 23 feet. So the sidewalks itself, I believe, are about eight feet in distance, a little over 8 feet. So we've been we have 5 feet clear for the sidewalk, and then 2 to 3 feet for the bleachers. And the bleachers will be mainly on the west side of the street. There's only 2, and then there'll be a smaller set on the other side of the street as well. No other bleachers will be placed anywhere else. And we're making room for all of the existing outdoor cafes. Other than that, we have, like I said, in the next couple of pages, we just have the supporting tents and things for crew and set aside for crew parking, as well as portable porta potties as well on only one side of the street.
So I just asked because, if the store is going to be open, you block the sidewalk every day with your line. And I just not understanding how all this space is going to be used and how anybody is going to view this with the numbers of the people that you've indicated who are coming here. I mean, it just doesn't, everything is on the sidewalk, and the sidewalk's 8.5 feet wide. And I just don't understand how this clear path is going to work.
Well, first, we're allowed to have people in the fire lane, okay? Fire lanes, you can't have anything.
Yeah, but your
built in the fire lane.
court's in the fire lane.
Right, but we could also have people standing in the fire lane as well, and people standing on the sidewalk, but I'll have staff there to make sure that the sidewalks have a clear path on both sides of the street. We're not anticipating thousands of people showing up to this event. There's no high-profile basketball players. There's not one single basketball player that's professional. There's no celebrities, no high-profile people coming. All the basketball players are amateurs. There's a bunch of people that no one's ever heard of. It's for the Henry Street settlement, and it's for kids. So it's not anything. It's not like we have the Knicks coming. There's no high-profile people or athletes. We do not anticipate more than a couple hundred people, at the most 400 or 500 people at any given time. It's New York City. There's a lot of other things for people to do. We're going to have some people there, but it's not going to be huge crowds of people.
Okay, but I just go back. I mean, there's a denial here on your everyday condition, which already clogs up the sidewalk. And you've only got 5 feet that you're allocating to all public movement on both sides in what's an incredibly congested corridor in what's a residential neighborhood. And I just don't see, you've left 3 feet on both sides of the street for a crowd to watch the game, traditionally from the sides of the court. That's where people normally watch basketball. And I just don't understand how you're going to be, even just minimal people viewing this, how you're not going to just jam up the entire community.
I don't see how I'm still having trouble seeing how the dimensions work. I mean, you're gonna have hoops up on either side of the court, right? I mean, with the hoops, assuming they're in the middle of the court, like how does the math work for the fire lane? Like, wouldn't the hoop be blocking the 15-foot fire lane?
We have the security directing store traffic away from the event, and it
Sorry, say that again.
The hoops will not be in the fire, the hoops should not be in the fire lane, no. It's not a traditional basketball court. It's not like, you know, we're building a court that's identical to a gymnasium's court. It's a mini court designed for a street. The hoops will not be in the fire lane.
But if the street's 23 feet wide and you have a hoop in the middle, then wouldn't mathematically. Oh, you're saying the hoop's not in the middle of the street. Okay.
No, it's not.
It's
not
still,
gonna be in the
it
middle.
seems like it's gonna be.
Where is
extremely
it?
high.
Can you tell us where it is?
Probably gonna be around the F in flush. And on the opposite side, at the bottom of E.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna
But
be
even if the
more-
court's 21.5 feet wide and it's in the middle of that court, by my math, that's still not 15 feet.
The court doesn't have to clear the fire lane. The court, like you said, the actual part of, most of the court is the fire lane. There's nothing being built to, you know, impede a fire truck from coming down the street. There's not. A fire truck can come right down the street at all times. There's not gonna be a hoop in front of it. There's not gonna be anything built in front of it. It's a court that's literally an inch off the ground. It's
Right.
flush to the, it's flush to
But
the ground.
if
You drive right on
if
top
the
of it.
hoop, if the court itself starts at the south side of the street, and or it starts, sorry, at it starts in front of where Upside Pizza is running 21.5 feet into the street. I assume the hoop has to be in the middle of that court, so the hoop's going to be you know, around 10.5 to 11 feet into the street. That only leaves 12 feet. I still don't get how the math works. I don't, maybe I'm not visualizing it correctly. I still don't see how you get to 15 feet, assuming you want the hoop centered in the court that you've designed. So, okay. Let me know if my math is wrong, but that's how I don't see how it works. Let's stop the share. All right, anybody else from the board have a comment? Yes, I see a couple. Donna.
Yeah, so I'm curious, where are the porta potties going? Because I don't think that was on here.
I can pull it back up. They had it.
Okay, and then and then my other question is, I'm assuming the store is not closed, is that correct?
correct. The store will be open.
And will this sidewalk cafe be open as well?
Yes.
So where are the lines of the people that are going into your store going to go? And then with the sidewalk cafe there, where are the extra people going to stand? You know, you'll have people standing there to look, because you're saying people are able to stand and look. How are people going to get down the sidewalk between the chairs and the people that are standing there?
We're gonna have security that's making sure that people continue to move and there isn't anybody standing, so that there's a fire lane constant that people can.
But the fire lane is in the street. I'm talking about the sidewalk.
I mean, the sidewalk.
I mean, that doesn't seem to happen on a normal basis right now. So I'm not sure how it's going to happen when you have a few hundred people in there watching the game.
Unlike normal days, we're gonna have security there that's specifically used to events like this to ensure that there are no issues like that. I know that there have been in the past, but we will have security there that is experienced with things like this.
And then the bathroom is going in front of, it's not going in front of your side of the street, it's going in front of this door, sort of across from your cafe, not in front of you.
Correct. And they have been informed.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't there also a tree pit right across from Upside as well? Like I'm looking at it on Google Maps. So-
Sorry, what?
Isn't there, looks like there's a tree pit across from Upside. Is that part of the, is that why the bleacher is only half on that side of the street?
Sorry, William, just so you know, too, the hoops are on wheels and they can be moved almost instantly.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Just right across from Upside, is that part of the plan? Is the bleacher going beside the tree pit? I mean, there's already, if you look at it, you have a tree pit right across from Upside, you have grates, you basically have 3 to 4 feet of sidewalk where that tree pit is already. So it's already a little bit of a choke point there. So I guess the bleacher is going,
Beside the tree.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Will be tucked in there.
just looking at Google Maps, I'm really, I've been down the street also, in person, but I'm struck really by the narrowness of the street here. All right, let me stop the share. Did anyone else have a question? I thought I saw another board hand raised. If not, we can move to
Donna.
public. I think Donna, did you have another question? Okay. All right, let's move to the public. So please raise your hand if you'd like to comment or ask a question. I see, let's
Call them out, I'll promote them.
I see Tui is, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and Eddie. So let's start with Tui. I'm sorry, tell me how to pronounce your name. I'm sorry if that's wrong. Need to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hi, thank you for joining our meeting.
My name is Twee and I'm here with my business partner and also my husband, Martin.
Nice to meet you.
We own a small little children's store called Little Mooney on Mulberry Street between Prince and Spring. We can just say that this event will have a devastating effect on our business as well as other small businesses and residents living on this block. Already as is, in the last month, Leon DeRay has reopened, there has been congestion. In fact, they have put their lines of large customers, and we're talking about on a weekday, 300 to 400 people. Okay, weekends, we're looking at 800 to 1,000 people on this line and trying to enter their store. It has affected us as a business and has affected other residents. So with this event, while I don't have an issue with the cause of it, I understand that part of it is really for charity, but the other part I believe is also to promote Aimé Leon DeRay and New Balance and whatever new drop or new launch we're going to have. I believe that it has a commercial element, and this commercial element really benefits only one's business at the expense of other businesses. And as I said in the group chat, any claim that my business or any businesses on the block or residents have been informed of this event is completely false. I found out by accident, and that's why I'm here. Otherwise, I would have known. I mean, I think the neighborly thing to do for them would have been to approach us as individual business and say, hey, we're planning this activity. Will this have an impact on your business? If not, how can we mitigate that? But that has not happened. So we found out by accident, and that's why we're here. And I really believe that we may have to close our business. Saturday and Sundays are our biggest day. We have the most traffic. We work so hard. We are a small business. We went through the pandemic. We're struggling. And this is really, we all are trying to do our best to keep our doors open, to pay our rent. And on a Saturday like this, we will lose so much revenue. And I'm sure, I mean, I went really literally down the block today and I spoke to all the businesses and most of them feel the same way. And they have also not been informed of this event. Lastly, I believe an event like this could have an alternative venue. I believe that MA Leon Rey had this tournament in the past on a park with a basketball. And we have such a field nearby on West 4th and West 4th and West Houston at the William F. Pasante, there's a basketball court with a large area that can easily and more suitably accommodate this event. If it is truly for the community and to benefit the Mozart community, then it could also be held here. Why on Mulberry Street, such a small and narrow, already congested street? Why on Mulberry Street? And why 2 long blocks when the anticipated number of people coming is from 75 to 199? It is grossly underestimated. I can guarantee with the number of Instagram followers and social media followers that MA has, which is over 1 million people, that this event is heavily going to be activated, and there will be 5,000, if not more, people descending on Mulberry Street, hurting local businesses like mine, and really damaging the quality of life for those that live on the street. We all pay rent, we all have to pay, we all have our livelihood, and this event does not in any way benefit it. In fact, it will devastate, it will be a devastation.
Hi, this is Martin, Twee's business partner. Just a few comments from me. Thanks everyone for letting us join and voice our concerns. This is the first time that we joined a community board meeting because we have been part of this community on Mulberry Street now for close to 5 years. We've built our store with our own hands from the ground up, small family business. And as Twee already mentioned, as a community, we're businesses, we're residents, we're neighbors. We talk to each other, we voice our concerns. And as Twee mentioned, no one, absolutely no one on the street knew about this. It was just by pure accident that we found out, buried deeply in the application paper, hidden behind Winnick event management, behind group therapy, behind Mulberry 23 event. It lists the actual store, Emmy Leon d'Or, and based on the history, as Twee said, we think it's going to be leading to an absolute crazy congestion all the way from Spring Street to Prince Street to Houston Street. The entire Mulberry block will be filled with thousands of people. This is not this small 75 to 199 people event that it's being kind of like advertised. We feel this whole thing is being snuck in here through the back door without any of us being consulted or asked, because if we were asked, we would have said, oh no, we actually do not like this, and that's why we're here today. And yeah, with that being said, we hope that all this is being taken into consideration. We offer up alternate suggestions as on Emmy Leon d'Or's website advertised. They did this in 2018 on the public basketball court. There are many other venues that are much more suitable. There's no need to do this on Mulberry Street. We already have 12 days of San Gennaro every year. We know this as businesses. This is what we have to accommodate ourselves and learn to live with it. And others, most of the other streets in the city have their street fairs 1 day, maybe 2 days. We have 12 days of San Gennaro. We do not need another full day of a street event that benefits one business only. And as I said, it's not from the community for the community. It's a commercial business event. That's what we have to face and look at.
Thank you very much, both of you, for showing up and speaking today. We appreciate it. Any questions? No? Okay, let me move on to Eddie or Edu.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, how is everybody? Okay,
Good.
so just to make a couple of things clear that I think that were confusing to people that are watching. There is no roadbed cafe. They don't have a shack. They just have planters in the street that they leave out there and that are not compliant with any sort of sidewalk cafe rules with DOT. It's because they're never used. It's never used as roadbed seating dining. It's just there for aesthetics and to be bougie. Also, there was no notice posted around. I don't even know whose job that is, if it's CB2 or theirs. Either way, people that I spoke to have no idea what's happening, and I walk down that street every day, never saw any notice. What I think in terms of how many people are coming, how many kids are playing, are their parents coming? Yes, of course. Who gets seats? This is going to be way more exclusive than what they're presenting based on their previous events. Further, when they had a street closure for the film event, and by the way, I'm sure they're going to be filming here too, they wave people, their private security pushed people away saying the block was closed. And they never really had a street closure. They have really pushy security guards posted at every corner, pushing people away, not to come. And that's just tragic. That's just devastating for all the small businesses that I have been there. But one of the biggest things here is that right around the corner, you have the Salvio playground with the basketball court. If you really wanted to have a public event to benefit a nonprofit, then you would do it there. But this is just a branding event that makes no sense. And the way that they've been with their neighbors, the stores and the residents, the way they handle the sidewalk, it's just been devastating to the block with the traffic and everything. So I would really look at how many kids are playing, how many seats are on the bleachers, who has reserved seating, who is going to be pushed away. Now, we all know in terms of people probably here that have businesses here and lived here for a long time, what happened with the Logan Paul event on Mulberry Street, down at the Parasol Projects pop-up. It was bedlam. It was mayhem. And when you have the Salvio playground right around the corner, you can throw a rock at it from Leon Dore. Those kids are going to be like, what are we doing here playing basketball? There's a basketball court over there. They're all going to come running down that way and say, let's be in this private space where there's a public space. If you're going to want to do something good, go do it in the public space instead of throwing your weight around on Mulberry Street. So look at who's coming and look at how many players there are, times that by 3. They don't have enough space.
Thank you.
I was an event planner, by the way, just adding that. A lot of people know that. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining. Next, we have Laura Tenenbaum.
Just a few things to say. I noticed that there wasn't any discussion about reach out to residents in the community. And since this is going to be a 24-hour event with construction all night and taking it down the following night, so 2 nights of sleeplessness for the community, I think that needs to be addressed. I was curious about what they're doing for the surface. You can't play, I don't think you can really play basketball on that road the way because it's in such bad repair. Are they putting anything down on the roadway, and how will that impact access for fire? The other thing, I just want to say that this store has already got a reputation in the community as one of the most arrogant, non-participatory stores in the neighborhood. And that's a pretty hard bar to go over, and they've gone over it. When they were on Crosby Street for temporarily, they took over the whole sidewalk, leaving a portion of the sidewalk that was actually not even, and people had difficulty crossing by. Absolutely nothing for the community. And I'm not surprised at all that they did not really reach out. They didn't reach out and say, are you okay? Or get ideas from the businesses on the street. They just told them, hey, we're doing this. Too bad. Probably was the next thing or next thought. I just think that it's a terrible idea for this community. They're saying they're building a court which is flush to the ground, but that ground isn't even. What happens since there's nothing there to prevent pedestrians from being hit in the head with a ball that might be errant? What is there to protect people crossing on Spring Street at the crosswalk there? What's to protect people walking down the sidewalk from being hit by something? Those are my questions and my opinion. I just think it's a bad idea. It's just the wrong place. I think Eddie is absolutely right, as are the DEPs, that they should be doing this in a real basketball court. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. I think Michael Lee is our last person whose hand I saw raised.
Hi, thanks. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Hi. I just, I wanted to make a couple of points and, not to belabor some of the observations made over the last few speakers' remarks, but, Mulberry's really at a crisis point, and, whether or not this board allows us to go forward or not, or if the sponsor or group therapy decides to put something on, even if the CB2 board says not to, I think it's worth you all coming to just see what residents of Mulberry Street live with day to day. If the purpose of the subcommittee truly is quality of life, really nothing can substitute for just spending 20-30 minutes walking on Mulberry Street, just a few blocks on the afternoon of any given day. It doesn't even need to be a weekend, really. And I think a lot of businesses have made comments on this call, and I just want to say, as a resident, I've lived in Mulberry Street. I first moved there in 2004, and I've lived here for a very long time. It's changed a lot, and we're at a breaking point. So I didn't want to remark too much on the specific sponsor or the specific event, but I did want to I just want a few observations. One is that I feel, as someone who lives on Mulberry Street, for anyone, putting aside ALD or this event, for something this detailed, I think it demands a level of professionalism in the plans presented to this board to really, give us a timeline of events, to have that be overlaid with practical rules and procedures in New York City, as well as just a sense of, a CAD accurate level of what's going to happen. I think I got a sense of that, but as I listened to comments on this call, I began to really feel like this just wasn't capturing what was happening on Mulberry Street. So if I think that's an ask for anyone. And I think given the comments made earlier, I feel like that's even more of a demand for this specific case. So just more details and a level of, professionalism about what events are going to happen. When is the first piece of orange tape cross Mulberry Street, and when does it come down? And when are trucks coming in? I don't have to go through everything, but I just wanted to say, like, that kind of level of detail would be immensely valuable. And just with respect to the comments made to the planters or just the general width of Mulberry Street, we have standing sewage and sewer water on every given day in our neighborhood, and that's because of a lot of factors. But basically, we can't clean the streets. When you can't clean the streets, horrible things begin to happen. And smell is one of them, but it's getting to the point where, there's just funny looking things on a day-to-day basis. The more important issue is that emergency services vehicles are no longer able to move up and down Mulberry Street freely. And that can happen in the morning and it can happen at night. It's pretty stochastic, but you'll see it. It doesn't take much time waiting to see that happen. So I just wanted to say that in the context of all the comments about this specific event, I hope you all keep these general comments in the background. And just, finally, I don't want to say anything bad about anyone. And I think, ALD does a really great job of making sure that the sidewalk in front of their store is as clean as a Marines barracks. And I for one, appreciate that. And I wish we could bring that level of excellence to the rest of the street. But I just wanted to add my 2 cents. Thanks for listening.
Michael, thank you. That's points really well taken, I think, about the importance of knowing each individual block where an event's taking place. And to your comment about detail, I mean, that's one of the main reasons why we have these meetings. Because if you look at the actual applications required by SAPO, they're often pretty sparse. So that's why we try to do these meetings to flesh out more details about each event that's taking place in the community. So we definitely appreciate the comment and thank you for coming today. Okay, that Carter, yes.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't have a chance to finish sort of my questions earlier, but so there's a couple of things. One, just to Michael's point, you know, we received quite a few complaints of which I'd been copied on with respect to just the daily operation. So I just did just what Michael said a week ago Friday and went and visited the spot, and Panos, the manager, came out and spoke with me, and we, you know, together we observed people walking in the street to get around their line and sort of some of the other day-to-day things. There seemed to be a discussion that the business felt that by cleaning the street, which they do very well, allowed them to, you know, operate differently. But the fact of the matter is, you know, the math just doesn't add up for the number of people here at this event and the overwhelming nature on Mulberry Street here, which is upstairs, all residential. And even in the middle of where the court's going to be, there's a residential entrance to a large building, which also that 5-foot clearance has concrete, you know, barriers coming out and railings coming out, sort of blocking pedestrian movement on the east side of the street. So a lot of what's being pitched here really doesn't fit when you just actually go and walk the street for the amount of capacity. And you know, as far as the business here, I mean, it's a big business that attracts thousands of people, and it's in an area which is really designed for smaller size businesses and not this type of crowding. It's not, you know, the zoning designations are not destination retail, which this is, and it's just overwhelming. And in fact, the fire department just issued them a violation for those planters, you know, encroaching on the fire hydrant that's in front. A tree mysteriously disappeared when the business was opened. There are illegal outdoor speakers that are set up underneath the awnings. And this is just to Laura's point, you know, these are just ongoing issues. And this seems to be somebody's desire, and they're trying to push it all through in an area where it really just doesn't fit. And I mean, the point is that there's, you know, the parks that are in the immediate vicinity where this could be hosted. It could be hosted at any of the people who are coming to play in this and be sponsored off site. But this street is just really not a good location for this. And it's overwhelming. And to sort of sit here in disbelief that 5 feet, you know, is enough to get by when that's just where everybody's going to be standing is a little too much. And to Laura's point, you know, we don't have proper diagrams or any communication with the residents, and this is just stuff stretched out all the way down, the porta potties, all this stuff taking up spaces where there's already too much. And so you know, I just feel, I mean, the applicants can certainly speak and respond to that, but those sidewalk diagrams are not accurate. And that detail and the math is everything, you know, and that's what all the businesses, somebody will have to walk all the way around the block to get through during the duration of the event. 16 security guards just block the sidewalk itself standing there. And, you know, and people's experience that been told that the street's closed is real. So these are all the things that we've been dealing with, you know, and engaging with the applicant before. They know these issues. It's been discussed. The owner didn't bother to come to our SLA meetings, you know, until the last minute. Panos, who's the manager, is very adamant, but, you know, he's also made clear that this is the decisions of the management on what they want to do. And that's sort of what we're faced with here. And I think it's a big challenge. And it's unfortunate that we're kind of having to pit this up, you know, in the way this is being set up, which is not a positive manner, but it's frankly just because it doesn't fit. Like Eddie said, you know, it's just too much for right here. And really one needs to go walk this block to understand that. Thanks.
Thank you, Carter. Michael, do you have one last point you wanted to make?
Yeah, I'm very sorry to make this point, and I don't have any sort of prejudice or bias against corporations, large or small. I distrust all of them, but I just also want to just say that there is an element, you know, this is a small neighborhood, it's a narrow street. There is an element of, I wouldn't say, you know, there's certain words that are legal red flag, you know, it's just, it's a tougher sense, but I just, there's a pressure that exists, right? I mean, you know, for better or for worse, ALD is the biggest presence on our block. And they now own 2 storefronts. And, you know, I think the issue is, hey, it's not about this event, but like, how do all of us on Mulberry Street work together to make this, you know, a better version of Mulberry Street? And, you know, I know for a fact that people on Mulberry Street who live here and who own businesses here did not want to come onto this CB2 meeting because they felt like they were too afraid or it would be ineffectual. And that's why I'm here. And I just wanted to say that. I wanted to speak on behalf of them as much as anyone else. So thank you again.
Thank you. All right, I don't see any other hands, so I think we're going to move on. Thank you, everybody, for who spoke and showed up at today's meeting. Okay. Let's move on to the next event. So next we have the Maybelline Pride pop-up tour. I see Jamie raising their hand. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, good evening. How are you all?
Good evening. Thank you for joining. Thanks for being patient.
Of course. No, thank you all for having us. So I'm Jamie Barron on behalf of Youth Working Connection. I'm also joined by my colleague, Rachel Jeter, who's a part of the YMC team and supervisor of the activations. So overall, we are looking to execute 2 events at the Gansevoort Plaza on 13th Street for Lucid this summer with our client, Maybelline New York. We are working with Kevin Capuno over at the Meatpacking District Association to get this going. So we have submitted 2 Plaza permits for these events. The first event is for our Pride pop-up tour. This is a 2-day activation on June 20th and 21st. And the second is for National Lipstick Day, which will be a 1-day activation on July 27th. So our Pride application is under review with SAPO. In terms of setup for the first event, we will be loading it on 6/20 at 5 a.m. The event starts that day at 10 a.m. and runs until 4 p.m. And then the trailer will be staying there overnight, and we will be executing the next day for the same hours, and then loading in the 21st after 4 p.m. We have hired security through Garlic for the entirety of the event and for overnight. This is a 40 by 30 footprint with essentially 1 mobile pop-up trailer and then a smaller swag hut. We have done this event before. It's not our first rodeo. We were at Hudson Yards last year for National Lipstick Day, and we also use this activation across the country at multiple campuses the past couple of years. So just kind of give you a summary of what goes on these events. So for Pride, again, it is a 2-day event that provides consumers an opportunity to explore the Maybelline products through essentially a mobile showroom. So the pop-up offers a variety of opportunity to just learn about the products, interact with the product, and just learn more about Maybelline's Trevor Project and Born With It partnerships, specifically for Pride. The event is free to the public, and they can interact with a variety of different activities within the trailer and also with makeup artists that we have. I had sent over some photos, William, of activity that we did last year at Hudson Yards. That footprint was much larger just because we did have some celebrities and influencers. We will not for these 2 events, so we do expect a smaller crowd. There's no on-site selling, and everyone essentially walks away with some free product.
That looks like one of the photos, yes, from last year?
Yes, that's correct. That was in Hudson Yards.
Okay. And what's driving the decision to move it from Hudson Yards to Gansevoort?
Just a touch of new, essentially demographic in New York. So for the Born With It collaboration we have for Pride, we are partnering with cafes in the area where proceeds to a cafe beverage goes towards the Trevor Project, which is a big philanthropy that Maybelline supports. So we just wanted to touch West Village instead of Hudson Yards.
And local, you said you partnered with local businesses who are going to be selling items at the event?
There will
that
be no on-site selling. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
strictly Maybelline.
So you would direct people to local businesses and then a portion of that would go to the Trevor Project?
So we'll be having a handout promoting a beverage at select locations. It's called the Coffee Project that Maybelline supports. So just raising awareness of that. So if they want to support these local cafes, they can, but there will be no beverages on site. We are not selling anything, and there will be no other vendors.
And just out of curiosity, do you have the names of some of the local cafes that are participating in you said it's the Coffee Project?
Yes, let me pull that up for you.
Just curious.
Of course.
And then while you're pulling that up, I'm going to pull up the map here.
So the Coffee Project New York is East Village, Manhattan. The Coffee Project New York, Chelsea, Manhattan. Hell's Kitchen, Manhattan. It's I'm going to say that wrong. Essentially, all of these are Coffee Project cafes. There's about 4 to 5 that will have proceeds going towards these beverages that they're selling.
Okay.
I can chat this in the chat if that works.
Sure. All right. Let me just pull up the schematic. Okay. Let me zoom in here. So in terms of the rest of the plaza where the activation is not taking place, is the idea to leave the chairs and red umbrellas there?
That's correct. We are
okay.
considered a medium-sized activation. So in front of the activation itself, we do anticipate being able to leave, chairs, tables, umbrellas. Definitely don't want to disrupt that space.
Okay.
We're essentially following the coach activation that was there a few weeks ago. We actually visited on site both times to check it out. So we're approximately about the same size of that. So there will be room for pedestrians to get by and everything.
Okay. Great. And any amplified sound?
There will not. Inside the trailer, there'll be ambiance music, but you cannot hear from the outside.
Are you gonna need a generator or anything or no?
Nope, we will be plugging into the shore power that they have nearby. We've
Great.
already paid that invoice and we have cable ramps and everything for safety precautions.
Okay. Let's stop this so I can see everybody. Brian, do you want to why don't you go ahead?
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that presentation. And I just wanted to clarify something that I thought I heard you say was that there will be no sales nor food there.
Correct.
And the participants in the Coffee Project will be handing out coupons so that they can go to a cafe, a coffee shop.
Not coupons, it's just a piece of printed collateral to raise awareness of that, and then guests can walk away and visit those cafes.
It looks like there's one, looking at the website now, it looks like there's one in the village at the LGBT center. It's probably the closest one. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Okay, so it's not a coupon, it's just a piece of literature, something brochure to alert them to the promotion that is going to be found at these coffee shops.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thanks. Michael?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. You said that this is a Pride event. Can you explain to us how this relates directly to Pride?
Of course. So Maybelline is supporting the Trevor Project. So really the essential takeaway of Trevor Project is just raising awareness to suicide prevention and supporting the youth who are having struggles with coming out with their identity and just providing a safe space in order to do so. This is a project that we've been working with across our campuses too for our college pop-up tour. So we'll be promoting that through various different swag items, as well as just different literature across the trailer, as well as swag hut. We'll also be having makeup artists that are very inclusive within there. And we're just really essentially wanting to allow these guests to express themselves using Maybelline products that they'll be getting.
So there's no financial contribution. It's an awareness project that you're doing.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Michael. Jamie, I think it's easier before we move on to the second event, if we see if anyone from the public has a question or comment on this one.
Of course.
Please raise your hand if so. Yeah, I don't see anything. So why don't we go to event number 2? So this was the one, by the way, just for everyone's awareness, this was in the last event in our agenda, but since you're already here speaking, let's just do it. Let's do it now.
Awesome. Yeah, so National Lipstick Day, again, it's the same footprint as the Pride activation. We essentially did this last year in Hudson Yards. The only difference is that it's branded for National Lipstick Day, promoting Maybelline's lip products. And really the idea is we want the public to find their perfect shade of lipstick, red or pink. Again, they'll be getting free items when they go through the trailer. There is no on-site selling, no generators, and it's only a one-day activation. So we'll be in and out in one day.
And can you go over the setup and run times for that one?
Yes, so that will be on Thursday, the 27th. We load in at 5 a.m., activate from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and then we'll be loading out by 8:30 that night.
Okay. And I want to make sure I heard right just on the previous event. Is that also 10 to 4 each day?
That's correct.
Okay. So if I pull back up this screen, it's just to be sure, just to be clear, it's literally the exact same layout as this.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, but the truck is going to be branded a bit differently, but it's the same size truck and everything.
Yes, more lipstick theme for National Lipstick Day. For Pride, it's more inclusive of the colors and representation of the flags.
Okay. For the lipstick day, are there any sort of I like the aspect of the Pride event, how you're partnering with local businesses and organizations. Is there any aspect of that to lipstick day, or is it more sort of just purely promotional?
I would say it's purely promotional. Again, we're always speaking out Brave Together, which is the overarching philanthropy of Maybelline. Trevor Project is
What was that called again? Sorry.
Brave Together. I can actually send over the website. Rachel, I don't know if you have that handy if you're there. Let me chat this to everyone. Thank you who pointed that out before. So Maybelline partners with the Jet Foundation, Trevor Project, Brave Talk, the Suicide Crisis Line. So overarching themes are Brave Together and just overall promoting mental health. And again, really the idea of National Lipstick Day is just boosting everyone's confidence and making them feel confident wearing the Maybelline products to express themselves.
Okay. It's basically a branded trailer. You're giving out free products. Nothing's for sale. There's no music and no food.
That's correct. We like to keep it simple.
Okay. That one seemed okay. That's pretty straightforward. Same location. So same location, basically similar event, but more promotional and less of a, not tied to anything like Pride. Okay. Anyone from the committee want to speak on this one? Or from the public? Okay, I don't see anybody raising their hand. Okay. Thank you, Jamie. I think we will move on to the next event. Thank you for coming today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on. Violife Cheese is the next event. Do we have a presenter from Violife Cheese? Is Mark still here?
Not seeing any hands raised.
That was one that I thought did say they were coming, so that's why I wanted to check.
Sure. Oh,
Oh, I
his
see
hand's up.
Joe. That might be him. Yeah. Hi, Joe. I'm going to promote you to panelist. You have to accept.
Okay.
Hello, Joe.
We good now? I'm sorry.
Yes. Hi. No, thank you. Thank you for joining.
No worries.
So if you could just give us an overview
yes,
of this event, that would be great.
This is just basically a food truck in a curb lane on Spring between Mercer and Broadway. BioLife is giving away several different organic and cheese products to the public. I know the activation is really scheduled for 11 to 4 p.m. on that day.
Okay. And that is June 22nd. That's the date, I think, on the application. That's correct.
Yes, that is June 22nd.
Okay. June 22nd, 11 a.m. to 4. Do you know where specifically along that block in the curb lane the truck is planning on parking?
Well, we're planning on doing it mid-block, but parking being the way it is, we don't know exactly, but it will be on that side of the street, on the north side of the street.
Okay.
There is
Can you
no
tell-
there's no sound. There's no sound.
Okay.
There's no it's just basically the food truck and one or two brand ambassadors that will be in front of this the truck, just giving away any products to the general public that pass by.
Okay.
This is one. They're doing this in about 12 different locations in the 5 boroughs, and this is one of the sites that they selected.
Okay. Do you know if the brand has a presence in CB2? I just don't know that much about them.
Well, it's in the supermarket and it's a new product. And it's organic, and it's also I'm sorry. The representative was supposed to be here from the organization, but couldn't wait as long. He was here for a while, but couldn't wait any longer. But it's an organic cheese product. It's available in all the Whole Food stores in the city.
Okay.
And I believe in Trader Joe's as well.
Okay. It says on the application there will be a tent or canopy. Is that right?
Yeah, there'll be a 10 by 10 canopy behind the food truck for just basically preparation of the food.
Okay. And do you happen to know like the approximate length of the truck?
They're both in the curb lane. Nothing's on the sidewalk.
Yeah. And do you happen to know the approximate length of the truck?
35 feet.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a fully equipped stainless steel self-contained food truck that's wrapped. Of course, it's branded with the product name on it.
Okay. Great. Wayne, go ahead.
Yeah, how'd you select this location? It's quite busy. I mean, is that
I didn't select it. The brand did select it. It's one of many locations throughout the city that they're doing this on in different days. I mean, we have done promotions there in the past, and they have worked out fairly well without any complications. And I did consult with the local precinct, and they had no objections on it either.
Okay, Rocio?
So there will be some cooking at the food truck besides giving out products that are already probably packaged?
Inside the food truck, correct?
Cooking.
Yes.
And how will the products be served?
On a tray to the general public that comes up to the truck.
So people pick up
Like a, yeah,
on a plate
like
or
a little,
on a
like a
paper or what?
Yeah, like a paper boat. It's just a small product serving a taste, basically.
Okay, so will there be many places for the people to put their trash after
Yeah,
they finish?
yes, we'll definitely have at least 2 receptacles, and of course, we're going to remove whatever trash is there will be taken away when the event is concluded.
And do you know if there are other stores in the area that will be competing for this?
Not on that block, no.
Not on that block, nothing?
No.
Okay, thank you.
By the way, I left out the most important part. It's a vegan product, and that's like that's the big push of the product. That it's totally vegan.
Vegan cheese.
Yes, vegan cheese.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rocio. Any other comments from yeah, Brian?
Yeah, that really is a very narrow sidewalk, and even the parking lane that you're talking about, I'm looking at a Google Map type of photograph that even small, narrow, compact cars and small vans are are really squeezed in there, and on both sides of the street, of course. And then, of course, there's a shared bicycle lane, which of course is never shared. So it's really, the sidewalk is narrow, and it's right by the Judd Foundation and then a new building on Broadway's corner. It's just, I think that you're going to have people standing at the truck, and people are going to have a hard time getting around it. You say that you've had some kind of event there before. Wonder when that was.
Prior to COVID was the last time we used that street. So it would have been 2019, I believe. I believe we did something there for Hershey's.
Oh,
A similar product giveaway.
I see.
And by the way, I mean, the truck is 35 feet, but it's only, I believe, 7'8" wide. So it's not a wide vehicle.
Yeah, that's pretty wide. Well, you're going to be right at the curb. You're going to be tight to the curb with the truck.
Yes, 100%. It's the whole purpose is that basically the tires touch the curb, so this way people that come up to the vehicle can just easily grab whatever it is and walk away. It's not supposed to be any kind of and especially given the kind of product it is, I can't see it being a big line of people, blocking the sidewalk or anything. It's just gonna kind of be like, take it and walk away.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. That's all I
You're
have.
welcome. Thank you.
Rocio, do you have another question, or is no? Okay. Okay, yeah. Can you, what time is the setup going to begin? You said it's there 11 to 4 p.m. It should just show up.
The truck is going to get there early because obviously, as I said earlier, the key is holding the parking because, as you know, there's a myriad of delivery trucks and things of that nature that just plop into wherever and take the space. So even though we have a permit, hopefully from SAPO, the truck will probably be there at I would imagine by 8 in the morning, but it's not going to open until 11 o'clock when the activation begins.
Okay, yeah, because the application says 4 AM, so that felt
I
a
think
bit
that's
early.
I think that's just standard standard information, you know, that basically comes in with every permit, because that's when
All right, but you don't
they go-
expect to get there that
No.
early.
no, it'll never be there that early.
Okay. All right, let's take a comment from the public. Please raise your hand. I think Pete had his hand up, yeah. All right, I'm gonna promote you, Pete.
Yeah, thank you. First, I'm a resident of this block, and I'm also speaking for Broadway Residents Coalition. This is a very crowded intersection, the northwest corner, as Mr. Pape pointed out. It's a narrow sidewalk, very congested, a lot of congestion at the main retail operator at that corner, which is Nike. Often with lines stretching all the way along that block on Spring Street, with the somewhat permanent stanchions that are now in place on that north sidewalk. This is a very bad idea. I don't understand if this product is sold at Whole Foods, which is way over on the Bowery, or Trader Joe's, which is way over on 6th Avenue, why the truck is proposed for Broadway rather than in closer proximity to those two outlets where this product can be actually purchased. I have a couple questions. What is the height of the truck from curb to rooftop of the truck? Curious because of the large display windows, which Nike paid a very pretty penny to build along that block. You say 499 attendees. How many people can you fit in 5 square feet of sidewalk?
No, that is an estimate of the people who would be passing by and taking the samples. That's not anybody that's going to be in the truck. There'll only be, I believe, 4 people involved in the promotion itself, the activation. And the
We're not
activation.
so much worried about the folks in the truck. We're worried about the number of attendees outside the truck. If you could just let me finish, thank you. So why did BioLife want this? Why did they claim this very busy corner as the place that they wanted to promote their product?
They're not requesting the corner. They requested mid-block between Mercer and Broadway. It's not scheduled to be on the corner.
Okay, but as you said, you don't know where you're going to be parking because you don't know what's going to be available. So it could be anywhere from corner to corner, Mercer to Broadway. Just curious, why this block?
I don't have the answer for that, other than the fact that they wanted to be in other areas throughout the city. It's not only here, in other areas, and expose the product to people in those communities that they feel would be interested in purchasing the product and sampling the product.
Very good. Once again, just want to reiterate to the community the number of problems inherent in this application, and that we really urge the committee to not support this application. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Laura?
Pete pretty much said it all, but I'd like to add 2 things. I'm not sure if this is it probable that this is going to be in front of the Judd Foundation, at least the tent part that's extending past the truck, which I think would be an unfortunate placement since the Judd Foundation is so important in our community. reassured that you're not doing 4 AM because this is a block where people live.
Yes.
And that's, again, our community, our neighborhood is being inundated with all of these marketing events. This is one is on a Wednesday, I believe. Wednesday, Spring Street is pretty busy for traffic wise. It's also a shared street for bicycles. It's narrow. I think that this could be adding to the problems of this location. I think it's a poor idea, as Pete said. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. I don't see any other hands raised. So thank you, Laura. Thank you, Pete, for speaking, and thank you, Joe, for attending our meeting. I'll move to the next one unless I don't see any other
Thank you.
comments.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. I think this is our last one here. The Kiss Cosmetics event. Jasmine, I will promote you. Hi, Jasmine.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you. Cool. So I'll just jump in here. So I'm Jasmine. I work for TH Experiential. We're doing a pop-up for Kiss Cosmetics. We're working with Kevin for the Gansevoort Plaza as well. And our request is under review with Sapo. Our footprint is about 60 by 30. William, I sent through a deck as well as our floor plan if you want to bring that up.
Yep.
Thank you. So this pop-up is to promote brand awareness for the Kiss product and brand. They're launching a new lash and nail product that they're specifically looking to promote here. The activation is, if we can scroll down a little bit,
sure.
I have a few renders so everyone can get a visual of what we're working with here. Here's like a floor plan of the space. So it's like a Hamptons inspired summer event where we have 6 like fabricated cabanas, 4 of which will have product trials where guests can receive nail and lash services, and then 2 cabanas where guests can receive free product. We'll have lounges within the space as well. If we scroll up to the run a show, I can kind of go through our timing. Here we go. So on Thursday, we would like to load in from 6:30 to 8. We don't anticipate needing that entire time, but that's kind of what we're thinking right now. During that time, we would bring in all of our fabricated builds as well as set up all of our product displays. And of course, being aware of the noise within the space and just trying to be considerate of all of those around us. And then on Friday is our first event day. So we would be back into the space around 7:30, where we would have some staff training as well as a catering setup. The first portion of our event is from 9 to 10, and that's where it's private to press and media. So that's the only portion that we would have like past catering at. And then once that private portion ends, then we would open it up to the public from 10 to 7, or it's now to 10 to 6. And during that live portion for the consumers or for the public is when we would only be serving water bottles to guests. So only catering in the private portion and then water bottles during the public portion. And then the event would end at 6. We'd probably have a little bit of cleanup and resetting after, but we'd be out of the space by 9 the latest. And then on Saturday, we would return back around 7, reset the space, do a little bit more staff training, and then the activation would begin at 10. And then it would end at 6, and then we would load out from 6 to midnight. In terms of sound, we do have a DJ within the space, but of course we would work closely with our contacts at Gansevoort to make sure that we're within the noise ordinance as well. So just making sure we're not playing the music too loudly within the space. Outside of our activation area, we will have a tent for our like production back of house, as well as 1 generator, and that's all within our 60 by 30. footprint as well as line management, and we'll have some stanchions set up in front of that.
Okay, so is the programming is the same both days in terms of what's on site? It's these sort of cabanas for people to go to and hang out in?
Yes, yeah, it would be the same setup for both days. The only difference with the second day is we don't have that private portion. So the private media event is only for that first hour on Friday, and then it's public the rest of the day. Saturday is just public from 10 to 6.
Okay.
And here's a proper render of the space.
Okay, do you, thanks for this definitely very extensive deck. Did I miss it somewhere, but where is this sitting within the plaza? Is there?
Oh, that's, I
like
shared a separate screenshot.
Okay, so let me check for that. Okay, I see it. That's helpful. Let me share that. Okay. So that's the location within the plaza. So I guess, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to note we would have a little bit of line management in front of this that you can't really see on this floor plan. And then to the right, in that, I guess if we're looking where the blue squares are, to the right of that, we would set up an additional tent for our back of house as well as a generator.
Okay. I'll ask some of the same questions I asked, for the previous Plaza event presenter. Are you planning on leaving the rest of the plaza, I guess in this case, at the west side of the plaza?
As is, yes.
As is?
Yes.
Okay. And then is there any sort of, community tie in terms of organization within CB2 or something that you're supporting, or is it more of a purely promotional event?
It is purely promotional.
Okay. Okay, and then, sorry, I'm gonna go back one more time to this other one. And then just, I'm gonna pull this back up one more time. Okay, and in terms of sound, where is the DJ right in the middle?
Yes, the DJ is right in the middle there.
Okay.
We'll also have like a check-in desk to kind of help manage crowds as well within the space. So we'll have a check-in desk as well.
Could you touch on security as well as like waste management and garbage?
Yeah, so in terms of security, we'll have 2 security throughout the space to kind of help us control that as well. And we'll also have account for security overnight to take care of the managing the space and just keeping an eye on it overnight as well. And in terms of waste management, we plan on having our own disposal pickup at the end of each day.
Okay, great. Okay. Let me open it up. Brian.
Thanks again for that presentation. It's a nice looking deck.
Thank you.
All right. So I think following up on Will's question, so is there any neighborhood presence for a retail outlet or an office for your company? Anything like that in the neighborhood?
At this point, there is not. We can look into directing guests to storefronts where KISS product is sold. But as of right now, there is not.
Okay, well, storefronts where KISS products are sold, do you know of any nearby?
I think they're sold at Ulta, but I would have to check with the client.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the extent that you're directing customers to any local businesses, I'm sure that would be appreciated.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, do we have any other questions or comments? Nope. Yes, Donna.
Yeah, when the DJ, for the private event, is the DJ gonna be playing during that?
No, we'll only have a playlist playing, and we'll make sure that it's a bit lower since for that private event, we're only expecting about 30 guests in the space. So we could just plan to have some nice background music, and then the DJ will begin at 10 once the public event starts.
Okay, and then do you know about on Greenwich Street, is there going to be part of the street parking area closed off for the umbrellas and chairs that you're removing? Do you know how that works in terms of the street closure?
I do not. I would have to check with Kevin on that. What's the plan?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for flagging. I'll look into that.
Okay. Any other questions or comments going once? Okay. Don't see any more. So thank you, Jasmine, for joining and sticking with us for a couple hours. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, and going back to the agenda, I think we covered everything. If anyone else is here to present an event, please raise your hand now. Okay. Let's move into business session. So at this point, it will be only board members discussing. Let's go back through. Let's do it in the order that we actually went through these events. The first was the boot drop. That was a no-show. So that will be a deny. All in favor of that, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstain?
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed, abstain, or recuse? Okay. The second one we talked about, because we went a little out of order, was the Whitney Museum event. Friday, June 9th, the teen night, as well as the Community Pride Day on the 10th. This is, I guess, sort of a repeat event. It might have otherwise been a renewal, but the application was weird because they had the Leaf SAPO application and then they converted it into this, but it seems like it's something they've done before. They've been a good partner for the community, I think. So to me, this is a pretty standard event, but does anyone have any other comments on it?
Well, just to note that it's incorrectly stated in the agenda. The dates are wrong.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Yes, I assume they've fixed the SAPO application, but we'll note that. Thank you. Okay, so all in favor of this event, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed,
Aye.
abstain, or thank you. Any opposed, abstain, or recuse? Okay. Chanel Artist was the other no-show. Apparently this is a pretty standard event, but I think our policy is they do this every year apparently, but I think our policies to no-show is deny. So I would propose that we continue to stick to that policy even for smaller events. Yes, Wayne?
I just have a question for you, Will. I came to
Yeah.
the meeting late, so should I abstain on the ones I didn't hear?
I think probably yes, but that may be your prerogative. I don't know if Mark has a parliamentary comment there.
I guess I'd prefer just to abstain.
Okay.
Until we get to the basketball court.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So Ed, do you want to abstain as well?
Yes.
So that
Yeah.
would be on the Chanel, the boot. Well, actually, I don't think you have to abstain on those because those were no show anyway. So we didn't hear anything. But you want to abstain on the Whitney?
Yeah, I came at the basketball court on
Okay.
Market Street.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's a good idea. And Ed, did you hear the Whitney event or do you want to abstain on that?
Yes, abstain.
Okay, thank you. Good. And then so yeah, let's go
I
back.
apologize for coming late.
No. Thank you for joining. Okay, so for Chanel, all in favor of deny on that one, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
opposed, abstain or recuse. Okay. Okay, so Mulberry, I think that was the next one. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack on this one. I think I don't see how we can support this event. It seems way too large for the space. I think the fact that we saw so much community opposition to it, I personally don't see how the math even works out to have enough space for the emergency lane. And I think this is one of those things, one of those events kind of similar to the cannabis block party where we need to, firmly let SAPO know that we think there may be an actual, safety issue with this one. But happy to hear how others feel.
Well, didn't they say they had a different location in the past?
I didn't catch that. Did someone catch that?
Well, it certainly wasn't here at this location.
Right.
So it had to be.
I think it would be much better to just take place at a local actual basketball court.
Right, I think
I
that's
don't know why they wouldn't do that.
right.
Absolutely. So I would like to add that I did go by there today, this afternoon. There was a long line for that one cafe. And they had on the Google map, there were stanchions out in the street in front of that particular establishment. That's where the basketball court was going to be. Today, there were substantial planters and bushes in the planters. So they're obstructing the street. It's just the whole scene over there is just atrocious. And of course, we did get very impassioned letters from the nearby businesses. By the way, I don't think this was said, but the court is right at starts right at the Spring Street intersection, a very busy,
Yeah.
a narrow street. And there's got to be spillover in that kind of a location. It really is just too dangerous. I just could not in all good conscience vote for something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is good. This is one where we'll pass the reso and we'll immediately inform SAPO of the committee's decision, which, they're still allowed to take into account. And we'll note that it's not technically full board, but this is one where I think we need to be very forceful. Yeah, Rocio.
I think the best summary were the local business owners that came and spoke against it. I think they were right on point. Everybody else made great comments, but I think the injury that's going to be done to the small business owners who spoke is very important, and we need to take that into consideration. Besides everything else, the size, everything else was wrong, but the impact on the negative impact on the business is one thing that we have to consider. And so I was happy to hear them voice that. And basically that's all I have to say. I vote against it.
Thank you. Susan?
Oh, thank you. I do want to support your recommendation that the recommendation of this committee, even though it won't be passed by the board in time, go to SAPO, I think we have a really particular obligation to point out this is the kind of event that escalates into serious safety concerns. And that if we don't mention it, then we are really remiss. It comes back. It really comes back to haunt us if we don't. So by all means, you know, with the proper qualifications, but I think they really have to be made aware of these things, because every now and then you get these events that just rise to a whole different level.
Agree. Carter?
Yeah, you know, the problem here is that they're pitching a story that doesn't exist about the local environment to make it fit the narrative for the event that they want to have. So nothing adds up. And the impact really falls on a Saturday on the local businesses who really rely on that one day. You know, and as much as the foot traffic is generated, if you can't move down the block, nobody's going to come in your store, and it's not a pleasant experience. And then people just may not want to come back to the block, you know, if they're just in the area at some later time. So, and I, you know, what one of the people was saying there, I encourage everybody to just take a walk down the street, because it's a good example of where we need to find a better balance as we're moving forward that can work for everybody. And I know that the board office has received a number of complaints about where the line for this store, which is there almost every day, lines up. It was in front of other businesses. Now it's in front of theirs, but not really, and in front of an adjacent business. And they have security guards out there every day, all these other little issues. That's just the day-to-day. Doing this, they need to sort out that balance first. And it's also the sidewalk planters. When I was standing with the manager of the store, I just walked over there and he saw me and he came up to me, because they've also been looking to apply for a liquor license. So they have that's why I'm aware of some of these ongoing issues. But the people couldn't pass the existing sidewalk, and then instead walked in the street between the planters and the sidewalk to get by the existing condition. And that's not how it's supposed to be, right? And they were trying to compare themselves to other stores, but all those other stores existed on our avenues. And so you have these small retail mixed in with eating and drinking establishments along this block. They have to find their own balance, and this doesn't help. And it's unfortunate that we have to make these recommendations, but I think it's important to just point out the circumstances here, because it's the sidewalk widths, it's the street widths, it's the court widths, and the number of people are coming, and it just doesn't fit. If if we all went and stood there, we'd just see it, that it just doesn't work. And I think that that's not dissimilar to, the House of Cannabis, that same thing, right? The massive number of people coming, but we were dismissed when those concerns were brought up. And that's where the danger is when you're dismissed. And the fact that you need 16 security guards, I mean, that's a red flag right there too. And so that's the kind of stuff we want to port out to SAPO, I think, in these short turnaround things. It's not even saying yes or no, and that's sort of debatable whether the board can have a position on that, but it's just simply pointing out the alarming scenario that's setting itself up, and the total invasion of what I said to Panos was, look up. There are people who live above this whole stretch, and that's the other aspect. Nobody knows about it, so they didn't comment, and then other people are afraid to comment. And and we didn't even ask if there was an announcer for these games, right? Like announcing anything, let alone the music. So there's a lot of different things, but this is, I was just struck walking down here, you know, by this balance that we need to find with a lot of the reuse and the adaptation on the streets. This is you know, we have a few spots in our community that really need some thought, because the balance is off in what might work for the rest of the city. But the Mulberry Street here is a street to go and walk down at different times to think about what those challenges are. And this is just so over the top. It's difficult to comprehend. Thanks.
Thanks, Carter. Brian, you have one other?
Yes, I did want to make the point that I think something was said or written in the application that there was also a request for an alternate date on July 2nd. So we want to make sure that if we deny for this date, that it doesn't just get moved over to another date.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
And we should copy the precinct as well.
Yeah.
Just so they're aware of it.
All right. I will look to get everybody a draft tomorrow because this has to be a very short turnaround. So keep a lookout for in your inboxes tomorrow.
Are we going to vote?
Yes, we're going to vote. So all opposed to this event, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, well, I guess, sorry, it would be all in favor of a resolution opposing this event.
Aye.
And then any oppose that resolution or abstain or recuse. Okay. Okay. So we have the two different events, the Maybelline events. I sent around sort of the grid to the committee that we've sort of been using as a guide for these type of events. I think it's the continued theme of over commercial use of the plaza again came up tonight, where we basically have multiple weekends, including a couple weekends or multiple dates, including a couple of dates in a row, where the plaza is going to be used. So it looks like actually, from June 20th through 24th, you have the back-to-back of the Maybelline event, followed by the KISS event. So you have sort of 4 straight days there, if my math is right.
Yes, you are correct. And if the other cosmetic event had taken place, it would have gone on another several days.
Yeah. So look, overuse, I think commercial use continues to be an issue. We know from experience that these events often get pushed through even if we deny. So I would suggest if we decide to deny events, that if we have any commentary, we give that or suggestions. I personally I would probably vote to approve at least the first Maybelline event, because there's more of a community connection there and a pride connection. And that is actually partnering with, there are local in-district locations of that coffee shop, and it's for a good cause. The second one, it's similar impact, but it's just purely commercial. So curious to hear what other people think. But I would maybe potentially support the first one, but not the second one. But I'm open to other thoughts.
Well, I have a question about how the bid feels about these events. Do we ever check with them in advance to see how they feel, or do they just take
the bid is any event that's happening on the plaza? Donna can comment if I'm wrong here, but any event happening on the plaza sort of has, I think, the implicit support of the bid, is my understanding.
And they do receive a portion of the fee, I believe.
Yes, I think so. But I think Donna, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if they, go through formally and approve of or something, but they certainly would let you know if I think they discourage somebody and they get their own fee for these events. when it happens. The coffee shop on 13th Street, and I'm sorry, they have an event going on outside here right now, but the coffee shop on 13th Street is not in the bid district. So the money that they, it's a separate thing. Just put that out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I meant by implicit approval. Like they see these events and if, they sort of let them go on. Yeah. Brian, your hand is up. Did you?
Yes, just as a comment on this application, I would support the first event, June 20 and 21. I would also support the July 27th, just because their product is in so many of the stores in the neighborhood, or at least I certainly hope they are. I would think they are. Say what, Ed? What was that? Anyway,
Ed?
that's all I have for that.
Would anyone oppose the first one, the Pride one? Maybe we can vote on that and then talk a little bit more about the second one. I don't see anyone talking, so let's vote on the first one, the one June 20th, 21st, which is the Pride one. All in favor of approving that, say aye.
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 Any opposed, abstain, or recuse? Okay. Yeah, I mean, the second one, I feel like, right. They have some connection to being sold in local stores, but I feel like we've started to take the position as a committee that just something that's purely promotional. We're generally opposing that. I take Brian's point well, though. Does anyone else, how do other people feel about this one? I'd like to hear other people's point of view.
William, I agree with you. I think the first one is fine. The second one said it was purely commercial, so I would vote the same way you suggested for yourself. I would vote, I agree with you.
And I would agree also because there is no immediate benefit to the community.
And I would agree also because there's also a generator and live and music, a DJ.
There's no generator on this one. We're still talking about the second Maybelline event.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's definitely lower impact as compared to the KISS event.
But there's no
but it's still promotional. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I agree. And I think that it's probably also a good thing for this board to send the message that encourages brands to partner with local businesses for them to have a more successful event.
Yeah. Okay, let's vote. So Brian, should I mark you as opposed on this one for approval?
No, I think we should encourage them to pair up with the local businesses on the second event as well.
Okay, so a recommended deny with maybe I can add a line saying, we'd like to, as a rule, we continue to oppose purely promotional events and like to see, community ties, something to that effect.
Yes.
Everyone agree on that?
Yes.
All in favor? Yes.
Aye.
All in favor of that type of resolution? Say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed, abstain, or recuse? Okay.
Yes.
What was that?
No.
Okay. Okay. The Violife cheese. I think people had concerns about this one as well. Just given the location, it might be fine in a different location, but it seems like this is a challenging location is what I got out of it. And they sell at some stores in the city, but they don't have their own storefront.
And it's unfortunate that although Joe was a good presenter, we've worked with him before.
Yeah.
But they didn't have anyone present to explain why this location.
Yeah. So I would be in favor of a deny and and maybe as part of it, just suggest that, if they want to have an event in CB2, they should find, a more suitable location on a less crowded and narrow street.
I agree.
Anyone else feel differently? Okay, all in favor of that, say aye.
All right.
I,
Any opposed, abstain, or recuse? Nope. Okay, last one, Kiss Cosmetics. To me, I mean, I thought it was a good presentation. I thought it was super detailed. And I appreciated all the detail, but I think we're still back to the promotional event issue once again. So I think if we're going to be consistent, we should have pretty much an identical resolution to the one that we have on the second Maybelline event. And we can mention also the aspect about that they offered to direct people to local stores selling the product, which is great, but I still think it's a deny. Anyone feel differently on that?
I also doubt that they will be sending people to stores in the neighborhood. They will lose that promise once they start.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, abstain, recuse? Okay. There was a long list of FYI renewals. Does anyone have any comments on those? If not, I would say we vote to approve.
Aye.
Anyone oppose, abstain, recuse? Okay. We have a few items of new business here. One of the things we wanted to talk about, or that I wanted to talk about, is a possible the possibility of someone testifying at the city council hearing this Wednesday on 5G towers. I may be able to do that virtually. It is during the workday, but I think I could probably carve out time. If Susan's here, it'd be good to have her on the discussion, but this is something that we already have a CB2 resolution on. So it would be good to have a little bit of guidance as to what we're allowed to do here, but I assume having me essentially read language directly from the resolution into the public comment, would that be okay in terms of what's allowed? Valerie?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one option. Usually you have a time limit, so you may want to summarize it into, usually I think it's 3 minutes, but you might just want to check. So you can really just hit the high points. So, I mean, if you're allowed to distill the language, as long as it's in the position of the board, then that should be fine. And then just, you just register that you're, and they'll usually put you towards the front of the line if you're saying that you're speaking on behalf of the board.
Okay. And do we need an additional vote sort of authorizing that? Or I guess not, because again, I'm just reading an actual position of the board. Or I'll take a portion of it. I won't have time to probably read the whole thing.
Yeah, I would suggest just hitting the high points that are the position, and other people can certainly testify as well. And I don't know if Susan wants to add anything to that. Oops, hold on.
Well, of course, anyone can testify in their personal capacity. I mean, I am comfortable having you represent us because and it's clear that we know that you will be stating the position of the board. As Valerie points out, it's really to your advantage to select key language and time yourself, because this is the number one problem. People think they have a prepared text and it actually trips them up.
Okay.
And it's, less is often more. But also you do not have to be verbatim. What you have to do is simply be consistent in your statements with the opinion of the board. And since you know what that is, then you have some freedom.
Okay. All right. Well, it's the middle of a work day, but I've looked at my schedule and I can make it work. So I can do that. Because I also thought, Chenauld had talked about it, but anyway, that I think the resolution came from our committee, so I think it's good that I do it. Yep, Carter.
Yeah, and also you should be prepared to for a written submission as well with whatever you're saying. And then perhaps Mark can make sure it's communicated to them that you're speaking on behalf of the board in advance, and also let if any of our city council members are on there. And what will happen is you'll be on one of the first few panels, so that you won't have to sit there. If you don't do that in advance, you will be watching the hearing all day. So it really needs to be lined up ahead of time with whomever is managing the speakers. And it's pretty fast. And just like, and if more than one person can speak on behalf of the board addressing different issues, it just needs to be designated by Susan as somebody who's officially speaking for the board. And if anybody speaks in opposition, they can only speak on behalf of themselves. If somebody wants to speak in support of the board, they're still speaking in their personal capacity. And what's important is that you need to identify which capacity you're in if you mention the community board. If you don't mention the community board, I don't believe you're responsible for disclosing anything. But if you mention the community board, you have to state whether you're supporting the board's position or not. But I was just the written record is important, because that gets left. So and so if you write either your comments include the board's resolution, whatever, however you want to do it, but just have it ahead of time. So you can.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So Mark, maybe we can talk more on this offline just to make sure you get me in there, because if I could go near the start of my work schedule, that would be really nice.
I would expect that the start will be OTI, and then the next panel will likely be the service providers. So and I suspect that an awful lot of the council members may leave at the conclusion of that. At least that's always been my experience testifying before the council. Happy to talk to you offline. I think it's a very smart idea, if I understood Carter correctly, to give a heads up to Chris and Eric and Carlina, so that at least there'll be the possibility of a friendly face when you're testifying, and maybe they can help us get you to the top of the other panels to follow. I'll be glad to work on that with you.
Great. Okay, yeah, thanks for everyone, Carter, Valerie, Susan, Mark, for the guidance. Okay, anyone else have any thoughts on that? No? Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I sent around to the committee this summary outline that I sort of put together for the City of Yes carbon neutrality rezoning. There's a lot of complexity in there, although it can be kind of distilled down into, I think it's 17 proposals. I'm blanking on the exact number, something like that. It's all in the outline I sent around. Does anyone want to talk about that? I mean, we're going to have to respond at some point this month. I don't think this committee is ready to have a resolution tonight. And in any way, we're still working alongside landmarks and land use to get some answers to some of the outstanding questions we had about the proposal. What's probably going to happen, I think, is, I'll end up and those from this committee who want to keep working on it will probably need to join the next land use meeting as we work on sort of finalizing a reso here. But since we're one of the committees involved in this, I wanted to give people a chance to give their thoughts.
Will,
Yes.
I have just one observation. It's on the agenda for the land use committee. land use and housing. And I think it's important that as many people that are here today be there for that discussion, because I believe that the resolution would be adopted at that point. But I'm not sure if it would be just land use and housing, or would it be a joint resolution from all the committees? I don't think that's clear yet. I don't know, Susan, do you have an opinion on that?
Well, it's what's, I think it's more important that whatever that you have the input then to determine which committee it's going to come out of. I just don't want to create more complexity by, if it's a more streamlined process by it coming out of this committee and then simply getting the input channeled in, then that's what you do. It's, if people don't have anything, by all means, look at it. Sometimes it's easier to simply write down your comments and then send them in, so that we can look at them. If there's only certain subsections of that you really feel that's what you focus on. Focus on what you personally feel you can contribute on. You do not have to comment on the whole thing, just the part that you feel that you can relate to.
Yeah, my outline was really sort of intended to get the ball rolling, and I wanted it to sort of be a working document that we can add to, change, whatever. I'm sure there's stuff that I missed. Joanna?
Yeah, I just wanted to flag that I do know some other organizations like Regional Plan Association and We Act for Environmental Justice are planning to submit comments on it. So if you did want to wait a little bit and see if there is alignment with other organizations who will be, commenting in quite extensive detail. I haven't seen those yet, but if they do come up, I think also the Rise to Resilience Coalition has a lot of organizations that would probably sign on to a similar joint letter or something. So there might be some content that we can compare to.
If you could keep us posted, if you see anything come out of that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Joanna. Brian?
Yeah, I thought it was very useful that you put that outline together, Will, and I really appreciated it. I think that I saw, for instance, in my opinion, that some of the relevant CB2 committees, I think that you called out in several places landmarks and land use. I totally agree with those. I think that those two committees might be applicable to a few other of the points. You have a total of 17, as you say. I would say that we should move forward as best we can, and then when others might put forth their opinions or their reports, we could study them and look to see if we could just add to it. But I think that if we wait for other commentary from other groups, we'll be too far behind. So I do agree with Joanna about trying to integrate others' work and comments, but I think we have to move forward. So I hope that we do that.
Yeah, I think Manhattan CB3 did do a resolution on it, which, let me see if I can send that around. It's on the Zap portal. I might be able to get it, but I think that's one that so far the only one I've seen that did one so far. Carter?
Yeah, I was just going to sort of preface this so that board members understand that we have this new way that sort of pioneered in the last 4 or 5 years of how to address some of these issues, which is spreading it out over 2 months so that we can capture all the input, and in this particular case, because it crosses so many areas, people really should communicate with Will what their concerns are, even not to volunteer, you will, but to call you up and just share with you so you understand if there's an area of expertise or something in particular, because this touches so many different areas. And, we have a very diverse board within our geographic boundaries with a lot of overlying zoning districts and other things that can be impacted. So we may not comment on everything, but we do want to hear from people if there's a specific thing that they actually know about to bring up. And it's even better if it's done in writing, because this is all going to sort of come crashing together, after the land use meeting. And it's better if Will has an idea, since he's been doing so much work on this, to put in a few points so that it's considered, efficiently during that meeting. But it's just, this is a pretty overwhelming and a big change. And some of this may impact us in ways we don't contemplate. And in other ways that may seem obvious, and and also may not impact us because just stuff's too expensive as well for some of our buildings. But the new construction is something to think about, and retrofitting in the landmark districts. I think those are the two really key areas. And then as far as some of the uses outside of, we have a lot of areas that are the old manufacturing districts where the parking regulations are very different than other parts of the board, which people don't realize, that in manufacturing areas, there's no alternate side parking. So the parking regulations are very different, for example, throughout Soho and NoHo and in the meatpacking district and stuff like that. So just things to think about. I mean, your list, Will, was excellent, really comprehensive, but people should look through there. And if there's anything that jumps out, because this is the whole point of spreading this out over 2 months, is so people can think about it, digest it, and have time to talk. But then there's going to be the time crunch of boom, it has to be done. So, and Will's doing a lot of work ahead of time to do that. But I just encouraging everybody, because you can't go to the land use meeting. That's almost too late, because everything's laid out here for you guys to comment on if you've got something. So just a little push and plug, and thank you, Will, for putting that together, because it really sets the track in the absolute right direction of how we engage with this stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Carter. Appreciate the push and the support. Yes, Valerie.
Yes, thank you. Great. Again, echo excellent outline. Thank you so much for sending that over. Really comprehensive. It's really going to help move the discussion along. But I just want to point out that just in general for anyone else on this meeting, I know, Will, this, is that the 60-day review ends at the beginning of July. And again, this is not a comment to you, Will, but as far as it being discussed here today a little bit, I know this is new business, but as well, it's not currently, and I know it's going to be the topic of land use because I understand that, but we're not communicating it very well to the public because it's not on the CB2 calendar website, and it's also not on the CB2 email calendar newsletter that went out. So this is just kind of in general that people from the public are hearing this discussion here now, but we are not communicating as of right now about this meeting next week. So that's just something that I guess I will talk to Susan about, but just thought I'd point out for anyone in the public that's listening that it's not currently been communicated that the meeting next land use meeting will cover this, though mostly everyone on the board understands that.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks, Valerie. Yeah, that's a great point. And for for the public, members of the public who are still on, if you have any thoughts on it, I mean, I'm certainly happy. You can reach out to me. I'm certainly happy to discuss it with you, because I feel like I have a good grasp of it now. So if you're interested in this, please, reach out to me, and I'm happy to chat with you on it. Yes, Carter.
Just in an order of technicality, we had our public hearing on this. And so what the second meeting is a business session for the land use committee. It's not on the agenda, but it's not a more public testimony that already occurred. I mean, the committee will do whatever they do, but the public hearing was already held on that. And that's why, you know, communicating with Will is really important, because the session on that is the business session. And that's why we've divided up these issues, because it's too much to do in one night. So the first hearing, when we have 60 days, the way it has been doing is to do the public hearing, understand things, digest it, put it in order like Will has done. And then the next meeting is to bring it all together with something that's a little more organized, you know, from the board on thoughts, and then finalize and vote on whatever the resolution will be, just so it's clear. But it is correct that it's not noted on the calendar for next week for land use, but just not, I'm not here to correct anybody, but just that's just the ordering of the public hearing aspect of it. And that would be up to land use if they want to hear any other comments. But the official public hearing is already registered on the ZAP portal. It already occurred last month. We had our date, etc. Just wanted to make that.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else on the board have any more new business? If not, yes.
I just wanted to go back, you know, Darlene had put something in the chat earlier at the beginning of the meeting, and I had something else as well, you know, as far as events. So you guys had heard, if you remember, the brunch events were sponsored by Brunch, was Sephardic Heritage Museum was going to have an event on Bond Street. It was actually coinciding with the opening of Brunch's store. And they went ahead and did an illegal event anyway on Friday night that went until 12:30 or 1 in the morning. And I think that Darlene wanted to bring up another event that was overwhelmed. The police had to be called, et cetera, on Broome Street. And I think we need to think about how we take input on these things, meaning the events that happen improperly, so we know about them, to properly review other things. And I was just a little bit disheartened to see that. And I, you know, and I think we have a lot of, you know, just people just do stuff and we don't know how to complain about it. We don't know how to bring it up. We don't know how the city can get their proper fees for some of these events, you know, as part of that. And I just don't know how it's brought up, but Darlene's, what she put in there really just reminded me of that. Because, you know, we have this stuff happens everywhere, and you know, some of it is monitored, some of it's not, but you know, we spend all this time hearing the stuff, and then people just go do whatever they want with no repercussions. It's a little frustrating.
I think we should, at the very least, when we hear about these events, if we have photos and stuff, report it to SAPO. I don't know exactly what they would do with it, but maybe it's worth having a conversation with them about these kind of events.
Yeah, I don't know what the complaint process is, you know, or if there is one. So, you know,
it's probably there, you know, there, you can go through the 311 process. I'm sure we can submit something to SAPO. But we actually really haven't had a direct discussion about what they would do with that. So maybe that's a conversation we should have.
Yeah, and I just see Darlene has her hand up. I don't know if she wanted to comment on the thing on Broome Street. I mean, there are police helicopters, you know, circling, you know, overwhelming. I think a couple people were arrested. You know, these are just kind of big things that, you know, nobody knows what to do while they're happening, or before that we can connect all the dots. Because to the local precinct's defense, you know, their job is to maintain order in the moment. Their job is not sort of this longer term, how do you fit it all together and into the you know, matrix of this stuff. So I see Susan has her hand up, but thank you.
No, I was just going to say, I found out, I was reading the local news over the weekend, and because the crowd was so great, because the police actually made arrests, it did make the local press. And yet if there's nothing done about this, it's sending a message, you're better off not going through the process. How do we make that clear that, you know, people not going through the process is the mistake, you know, to begin with, because I mean, this was literally in a dry cleaners. They set up a pop-up event inside a dry cleaners. And at first, when I first read it, I thought to myself, is this some new, like, snarky name for some sort of a little store? And it's like, no, it really was a dry cleaners. But it's like, I don't know, I don't know enough that there's a process to find entities like this for, on top of everything else, simply sidestepping the, the permit process. And it makes it's scary because these are the ones that are dangerous, and we have a hard enough time sending out warnings, notices, like we are for the basketball one, where we do know about them in advance. What happens, when we're just as informed, we don't get informed ahead of anybody else.
Yeah. So one of the things that I talked to a few other people about is, potentially having a meeting where we have someone try to get someone who's very senior at CECM, which is like the broader agency that SAPO is part of. Maybe this could be sort of a topic on that list if we get them to present. I think that would be a good use of time. All right. If no one has any more new business, I'm going to suggest we adjourn. Thanks to everyone for a great meeting tonight. Thought it was a very productive one. So thank you for joining.
Thank you, Will.
All right.
Thank you,
Good night.
Will, for a great meeting.
Thank you,
Don't
Will.
forget to send in your comments.
Thank you, Will.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.